Sarawak sekarang hendak mengeluarkan hidrogen daripada air, dan molekul hidrogen dan oksigen ini mesti dipecahkan dan satu proses sains. Maka kalau kita nak menyumbang ke arah mitigation of carbon dan replacement of fossil fuel, mau tak mau kita mesti ada kekuatan dalam ilmu sains. Sebab itulah bagi Sarawak kita ada program dual language.
What is important here is we have dual languages, that is our national language, based on our national syllabus, and English as another assessment based on international syllabus prepared by Cambridge. This is to ensure that our students are well versed in both Bahasa Malaysia as well as command of good English, so that they can be sent to universities.
Is providing expertise to ensure our standards are on par with international benchmarks. This collaborative effort will allow the first standardized assessment for DLP Sarawak at Primary 6 to be carried out in 2025, covering science, mathematics, and English subjects. I call upon all stakeholders, including teachers, parents, and the community at large, to support this initiative in order to ensure its success and elevate the quality of education in Sarawak.
taking science and mathematics under the dual language program, which means these subjects are taught in English. This experience has greatly enhanced my command of English vocabulary, especially in scientific and mathematical terms, and has built my confidence when reading textbooks or watching educational videos in English.
Furthermore, this webinar also helped me to strengthen up my English language, as I am still learning to talk in English. Thanks to MEITD and Pertubuhan Aspirasi Guru Sarawak for organizing this webinar.
The webinar gave me more ideas and confidence. I am looking forward to UPDLP 2025.
This program helped me learn science and math in English. I'm also very happy, excited to sit for the UPDLP this year.
Even though my school is far away, I can still join and learn together with friends from other schools.
I hope that it will help us for the upcoming UPDLP and succeed in flying colors.
The webinar shows us new ways to learn and connect with many friends. I feel more motivated to speak English and study hard.
Pelaksanaan webinar ini sangat membantulah, memberi lebih kefahaman kepada murid dalam mengambil nota untuk tajuk-tajuk yang mungkin sukar bagi mereka, dan ada teknik menjawab soalan, soalan kebat, soalan biasa dan soalan kebat.
Webinar DLP Sarawak 2025 merupakan sebuah program yang sangat bermanfaat dan sangat memberi impak yang positif kepada kemenjadian anak-anak murid, khususnya untuk ujian yang bakal diduduki iaitu UPDLP Sarawak untuk anak-anak Sarawak. Saya dengan ini rasa sangat bersyukur dan juga rasa bertuah kerana Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak telah berusaha untuk menjadikan program ini satu mekanisme dan satu kayu ukur yang utama untuk kita melihat kepada kejayaan anak-anak murid kita dalam UPDLP.
Good evening, salam sejahtera, and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us this evening. On behalf of Pertubuhan Aspirasi Guru Sarawak, in collaboration with Majlis Guru Cemerlang Sarawak, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all students, teachers, parents, and viewers joining us live on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to webinar Kecemerlangan SPM 2026 Siri 1 English. This webinar is organized in support of the Sarawak Education Enhancement Program with the aim of providing SPM candidates with meaningful learning opportunities as they prepare for the SPM English examination. My name is Crystal Lulong and I will be serving you as the moderator for this evening's webinar. Before we begin, I would like to encourage everyone to participate actively. If any questions come to mind during the presentation, do not hesitate to post them in the comment section. I'll bring your questions to our speaker throughout the session so we can make this webinar as interactive and beneficial as possible. I would like to also encourage everyone watching us live to share this session with your friends, classmates, fellow teachers, and anyone preparing for the SPM English examination. We hope tonight's webinar will benefit as many learners as possible. Without further delay, let us begin. Our topic for this evening is the art of scoring in SPM writing. The SPM English writing paper is an important component of the examination, and many students are eager to learn how they can improve their writing and perform with greater confidence. We are delighted to have an experienced educator with us this evening to share on our topic, the art of scoring in SPM writing. I'm sure today's session will be an enriching one for everyone joining us. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for this evening. Our speaker is Cikgu Nancy Anak Darius, alias Darius, a Guru Cemerlang Bahasa Inggeris Sekolah Menengah currently serving at SMK Terbuka, Serian, Sarawak. As a Guru Cemerlang Bahasa Inggeris, Cikgu Nancy has dedicated her career to English language education and has extensive experience in the field. This evening, she will be sharing on our webinar topic, the art of scoring in SPM writing. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome to Cikgu Nancy Anak Darius, alias Darius, and Cikgu Nancy, the virtual stage is now yours.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, Cikgu, I can hear you.
All right. So before I start my sharing, okay, I just want to say a very good day to everyone. So my name is Madam Nancy, just like Cikgu Crystal introduced me just now. So this is my third year with Pertubuhan Aspirasi Guru Sarawak for SPM webinar. I started joining the team in 2024 to 2025, and this year is my third year. Except that last year I'm in a different school. So this year, my third school actually, SMK Terbuka Serian. So I hope my students are watching because my principal said he asked our students to watch. So if you're watching this, hi. Okay, so let me share my slide first. Yeah. Okay, so if you have any question, please ask. Okay, I will be more than happy to answer. Okay, so I shall begin. I hope I can cover everything. So as mentioned by our moderator tonight, so this is my topic for my first webinar. Because I have 3 webinars this year, this one will be my first one. Okay. Where is it? Okay. Wait. Okay. So let me fix this one first. Okay. So the title of my webinar for today is The Art of Scoring SPM Writing. As much as I want to share about our trial, but because we are not allowed to do that first. So what I'm going to share with you today is basically how you can score in your writing paper. Okay, I love focusing on writing because it has the biggest mark, 60 marks. Reading it only 40 marks, and then speaking 24, listening 30 marks. But writing it's 60 marks. So it's very, very for me very important, and the easiest one to score actually. Okay, students might think that it is the most difficult paper, but to me the easiest one to score is writing. Okay, because if you know the right technique, it will be easier for you to score. The hardest paper I would say listening. Okay, because of the accent, because of the tempo, and sometimes the audio is not very clear. So listening is the hardest one actually, but for writing for me is the easiest one. Okay. All right. So first of all, about SPM writing, because I think not everyone really understand how SPM writing is being assessed or it's being marked. Okay, because I went to different schools for SPM workshops. So when I asked the students or the teachers, especially the marking criteria C, CA, O, and L, what does it mean? Most of them said they are clueless about the marking criteria. For example, how do you get 5 marks for C, for CA, for O, and L? Okay, content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. Okay, I'm not blaming the teachers or the schools or the students because it is something that not everyone has the opportunity to learn about CCA, O, and L. Okay, so with my students, basically I focus a lot on CA, on the marking criteria lah, so that they know how to score in their SPM paper, especially for writing paper. Okay, all right, next one. So based on this, I realized that not because they don't understand how the essay has been marked. That's when the students they cannot score because they clueless of what should be done for C, CA, O, and L. Especially in because I have this TikTok account, so teachers sometimes they DM me asking me what's the difference between CA and O. How do they score 5 marks for CA, and how do they score 5 marks for O? Okay, so usually I will explain to those who ask. I will explain to them. But then again, if you don't practice it in your own classroom, if you don't let your students know what is C, CA, O, and L, then it will be very hard for them to score in their writing paper. Okay. So we're going to look at that today. Okay. So I'm going to show you what examiners, when they read your essay, right? What is the first thing that comes to their mind when they read your essay? Especially your introduction, okay? Because your introduction is your first impression of your ability to write, okay? So we look at part 1 first. Part 1 is the easiest one, right? Part 1 is the email, short communicative message. This is the easiest one to score actually. However, even though it's the easiest one, students still make mistakes. For example, my own students for their trial, okay, they did some mistakes, which I think should not happen, but maybe because of the pressure of time, I'm not so sure also. Okay, for example, this is the question. Okay, for SPM question, I noticed that the trend or the way they write the questions, right? They will make the students choose between 2 options, okay? Or they will include some information that is important, but then it looks like it's not important. For example, last year SPM, where the candidates were asked to suggest a movie for Siti and her sister, okay? So the students, no matter how good the students are, they always miss that one particular information, the sister. Okay, so it's very important. Just like this one, this is SPM 2024. Okay, so they are, it's an email from your friend, Ben. planning to buy a new watch, right? So as you can see here, the tasks, I think it's time I got myself a new watch. I know you just bought a new one. Why did you decide to buy it? How much did you pay for it? Do you think it's better to buy the watch online or from a shop, and why? Okay, 80 words, all right? So it seems very easy, right? Very straightforward. But then students still make mistakes. Why? Okay, we look at this one first. Okay. I cannot make it bigger. Okay, this is the common errors done by SPM candidates, right? Not only SPM candidates, like I think most students, SPM candidate, Form 5 students, right? The I would say the cardinal sin, I mean the biggest sin of all is you don't answer the given task. Okay, when teachers, okay, not only examiners, like your teachers also, when they read your essay, right, the first thing they will look for is whether you answer the task or not. Okay, so usually if me, when I mark my students' paper, I will check whether they answer the given task or not. And then even though you answer the given task, right, it must be answering the task directly, meaning you cannot go and make it like something very, very big when you can really answer the question straightforward. Okay, so you did not answer the given task. That is the number one error, because if you answer all the given tasks, right, you will get 5 marks, okay, easily. That's why I always remind my students that the 5 marks for content is a bonus mark actually. As long as you answer the given task, right, you will get 5 marks. And then there's one time I was, it was on my FYP. So this one particular teacher, she mentioned that in order to get 5 marks for content, okay, the student must write 5 content points, which is not true actually. Okay, even though there are only 3 tasks that you need to answer. For any questions, whether it's email, guided writing, or extended writing, even if there are 2 tasks or 3 tasks, 3 things that you need to answer, you still can get 5 marks, even though there are only 3 tasks. Okay, it doesn't mean that 5 marks for content, meaning you should have 5 content points. No, it's not like that. All right. The reason why they put it that way, again, sometimes the questions are suggest ways to overcome pollution. For example, the questions. So if you only give one way, meaning you're not answering the question completely, so you will not get 5 marks. All right. For example, the first question is, what is pollution? Okay, you managed to answer that. And then the second one, what are the causes of pollution? So the word there, causes, meaning you have to list more than one cause. Okay, if you only list one, meaning you don't answer the question. Okay, so meaning you cannot get 5 marks, even though you answer everything. You are confident that you answer everything, but actually no, you're not answering all of the questions, so you will not get 5 marks. Probably the highest you will get is 3 marks. Okay, depends on how you answer the questions. All right, so it's not, this is something that I really want to tell everyone, okay, especially teachers. It's not that 5 marks for content, 1 mark is for one content point. No. Okay, if the old format, the SPM old format before CFR, yes, that is true. But now we have the new format. It's not. It shouldn't be marked in that way. All right. Okay. So the second common errors done by SPM candidates, they fail to choose one of the given options. For example, like this. If you are asked to choose between 2 options, like this one, okay, do you think it's better to buy the watch online or from a shop? Okay, so if you choose both, for example, you answer, I think you should buy the watch online because, and then you give your reason, and then you add up, or you can buy from a shop because, and then you give your reasons. That is not answering the question. Okay, because in the questions, it is clearly stated that you need to choose between 2 options. All right, the moment you write both, okay, then you will lose your marks for C and also for CA. Okay, or you don't even choose any of the options given. You give your own option. That is another mistake. Okay, for example, you have to choose between 2 options. For example, Just like the question just now, like you have to buy online or you buy from a shop. But then you do not choose any of the given options. You give your own answer. You can then probably you write in your answer, right? You say you can ask your brother's old watch to save money. That's not answering the question. So you will lose mark if you write in that particular way. Okay. So if you are given the options to choose between two choices, you have to choose one. All right. That is the content point. Okay. If you don't do that, you will lose marks. All right. And then number 3, included irrelevant information. For example, this is what I always remind my students. When you write your email, right, you don't have to go and say, hello, how are you? I hope you are fine. My family here, we are all fine, blah, blah, blah. That one is irrelevant information. Okay, that's not related to the topic. That is why for email, you are supposed to write 80 words only. Okay, meaning you straightforward lah. You directly answer the questions. You don't need to go and do your greetings, very, very long one, right? It's just wasting your time and also wasting your energy to write, right? Number 4, you did not follow the correct email format. The correct email format is, first you have to have the greetings, the salutation first. Hi, and then the person's, the receiver's name. All right, this is one of the common errors also, because sometimes students, I'm not sure what happened during the exam. Sometimes they write the wrong name, or sometimes they misspell the name, which will affect your marks actually, okay, because it means that you don't understand the questions. All right, after the salutation, if you try to reduce your mistakes, right, you simply write a hello or hi, which is enough actually. Okay, and then your greeting is one sentence is enough, like how are you? Yes. Okay.
Excuse me, Cikgu Nancy.
Yes.
Hi. Okay, so there's a question from our viewers actually.
Okay.
So they said, one of the viewers asked, Madam, is it true that the SPM markers don't really care about the other extra words that had reached the word limit of 250 words? And the second question would be, how do you make a very short essay but worth 250 marks? Thank you.
If 250 words, meaning the person who asked these questions are referring to part 3, right? For part 3, actually for number of words, okay, this is a very popular question also. If I go to schools, the students or the teachers, they will ask, will it affect their marks if they write more than 250 words, right? Actually, even if you write less than 250 marks, it will be marked as usual, all right? You write, for example, for part 3, right? You are supposed to write 200 to 250 words, but probably your time management is really bad, so you only manage to write around 100 words for part 3. It will be marked as usual. There is no penalty given to you, but it will affect your the other marks, like your CA, your O, and your L. Okay, your communicative achievement, your organization marks, and also your language. It will affect your CA because for part 3, because you don't have enough elaboration to your points, which will affect your CA. Okay, because for CA, for part 3, the complexity of ideas is very important, meaning your ideas must be very complex. It must be very, I would say, an A+ idea. Then you will get very high marks for your CA. But if you only write less than 100, then meaning that your elaboration is just more or less like touch and go, right? And then it will affect your language because there is not enough language to be assessed. So even if your grammar is perfect, there's no errors whatsoever, but because of the number of words, it's less than 250 words, then your language also will be affected. But if you write more, there's no problem with that. You can write 300 words, you can write 400 words if you want to. But the issue here is your time management. If you write too long, you will not have enough time to write part 1 and part 2. Okay, if you write too long, or you will make more errors unless your grammar, your English is perfect, A plus. Then you are very confident that you will not make any errors, you will not make any mistakes. Then you can write as many as you want. Actually, there is no penalty whether you write less, whether you write more, whether you write exactly 250 words. It will not you will not be penalized for that, but it will depends on how you write your answer. All right, so I hope that, because I know for BM they will penalize, right, if you write more than the required number of words, but for English, no. Okay, but then we try to stick to the required number of words because we want to reduce the errors and the mistakes. Okay. For me, there are 3 types of students. The A plus one, the alang-alang one, and the weak one. Okay. If you are the A plus students, for the A solid student, the A minus students, your English is very, very good, then you can write more actually. But if you're the alang-alang one here means that the grammar, the content knowledge, the vocabulary is not very strong. But when you choose to write very long, it will expose you to a lot of mistakes actually, and it will affect your marks in a very, very bad way. Okay, so yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Another 2 questions, Cikgu, do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So one of the viewers asked, is it the same how they mark part 1? I mean, is it fine if I cross the 80 words limit? And then second question would be, teacher had told not to add a word count at the end of my essay. Is this true?
Okay.
And the third one? Okay. Should we proceed to the third question?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, teacher, how do we write an essay about our own experience, for example, purchasing a branded item?
Okay, I answered the first question. The first question just now, 80 words, write more than 80 words. For whether the number of words, the way examiners mark your paper, is it the same? Actually, no. Okay, for example, part 1, I won't say lenient, but you know that the CFR level, we have the CEFR level. We have A1, we have A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. Okay, so for email, the way examiners mark email is based on A1 and A2 CEFR level. Okay, so if you can go and look what is CFR level, then you know that it's not very, you don't have to use very strong words for your part 1, your email, because it's email. When you write an email to someone, you don't go and say, for example, you don't say, you look very joyful today. You don't do that, right? You go straight to the point, and if you write email. So that is the concept that we use in email for SPM writing. Okay, but for part 3, which is the hardest one, of course we will use CEFR, C1, and C2. Okay, but for SPM student, actually, you are supposed to score B2. B2 is for SPM students, for 4-5 students. If you can score C1, meaning your English is very, very good. It's the same as the teachers. Okay, so it's not the same actually. For email, it's not the same as part 2 and also part 3. The hardest one to check or to mark is part 3. Part 3 is very, very strict. Okay, part 2, so, but then for part 1 is the easiest one. That's why for part 1, everyone can score very high marks actually, whether you are very good, whether you are very weak. If you know the right technique, then you can score very high marks for that. Okay. The second question, should you write down the number of words below your essay? Actually, no need actually. Okay. For the previous format, SPM before CFR, of course you have to write the number of words. But for the new format, no, actually, you don't have to do that. You don't have to waste your time counting the number of words, actually. For experienced teachers, okay, teachers who used to, mark a lot of papers, of course, immediately you know whether it's enough for 80 words or not. Okay, like myself, if I mark my students' essay, I will not count it unless if I think it's not enough. Then I will count it one by one. Okay. Once your teacher, they detected that you do not write enough number of words, then your marks will go down. Okay, no matter how good your grammar is. And the third question is now, how do you write your personal experience buying branded things? Okay, the thing about the questions, it's very general, right? But sometimes not every students have the same experience, okay? This is the problem with the questions, right? So for my students, usually I will tell them, you create some experience. Even though you don't have that experience, you never experience doing that thing, you just make one, okay? It's better than you don't write anything, right? For example, if you look at students in rural areas, okay, you ask them, for example, experience riding a train or an aeroplane. Not everyone have the chance to, travel by aeroplane, right? So you have to, make up your own experience, okay? Because the questions, it's very general, but the truth is not everyone has the same experience, right? Because my experience teaching in my new school now, I learned a lot of things. My third school, Terbuka, I learned so many situations actually, and it actually opened my mind that not every students have the same opportunity. They don't have the same content knowledge. So teachers, especially those who are teaching in rural areas, you have to give your students that opportunity, that experience. Okay, you bring the outside world into your classroom so that your students, at least they know what the questions is about, right? Compared to students in big cities, right? They have different upbringing, so it's kind of, I won't say unfair, but that's life, right? Okay, next one, repeated the same words frequently. This is why less common lexis is very important. Okay, if I touch on less common lexis, there are two things that are very, very important in SPM. First, cohesive devices. All right. Second one is less common lexis. These two things are very, very important. Right. Cohesive devices, like I always mention to my students, you have to memorize 15 cohesive devices that you can use in all three essays. All right. For less common lexis, okay, for part 1, you're not supposed to, okay, if you don't use less common lexis, it's okay. But if you keep repeating the same words, then it will not be a very interesting essay to read, right? So you have to enrich your vocabulary, right? To avoid repeating the same words. And the last one, you did not use cohesive devices. Cohesive devices for part 1 is very, very easy actually. You use firstly, next, last but not least, or finally, or lastly. Then you will get 5 marks for your O, right? For your part 2, cohesive devices, I always remind my students to use 3 in every paragraph. Okay, the first when you introduce your point, and then when you want to connect the ideas, and then when you want to end the paragraph, you use cohesive devices. Right. For LCL, I understand that not every students have the ability to use LCL, less common lexis. So what you can do now is you try to look for words that might help you in your writing your SPM. Okay, I think it's about 3 more months before your SPM. 2 months. Okay, so you should do that. Okay, find less common lexis and cohesive devices. All right, for example, this one. This is a sample answer for email. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the common errors always students always did these mistakes. First, this is not a straightforward idea. You see here, how are you? I bought a watch because I like watches. But this one, even though the idea is very simple, it answered C1 and C2. It answered C1. Why did you buy a new watch? Because I like watches. Okay. For part 1, this is accepted as C1. All right. For C1. For part 1, yeah, it is accepted as C1. And then C2, how much did you buy it? Okay, so the student answered, I paid 100 ringgit for it. So C2, check lah. C1, C2, check. And then the third one, should you buy online or should you buy from a shop? So this student answered, I think you can buy online or from a shop because both are good. So this is not accepted as C3. Okay, because the students obviously did not choose any option. So cannot give C3, right? And the reason also, because C3 is already wrong, right? So we cannot give C4 because C4 is the reason why you choose either buying online or from a shop. Okay, so only two C1 and C2. So for C, content point for the content marks for this one, it's only 3 marks. Okay, and then for CA, because it's not straightforward, but if you see here, I bought a new one. My watch is black and it's good. Black is my favorite color. It's irrelevant information. So CA is also affected. Okay, other than that, for quasi devices, I think it's considered to be quasi devices because yes, so it's very minimal, not a lot of variety of quasi devices. So this is not, cannot get 20 out of 20. Okay, probably the highest would be 15 or 16. Okay. The second sample, this one. I bought a watch because I like it. So C1, the watch is very nice and my favorite color is black. My brother likes black shoes and my school bag is also black. This is irrelevant information. Okay, it seems like seems like ridiculous, right? But trust me, students, they do write like this. Okay, you will have irrelevant information, especially for email. Okay, you don't have to write this actually, even though you don't have ideas, right? You don't have ideas to write your essay. Still, you cannot write like this, right? You just straightforward answer the given task. All right. So C1 is answered. C2, no, there's no prices. There's no mention any prices here. Okay. I think buying online or shop are both good. So it's not answering also. So only one. Even though here I buy my watch online and it is very expensive. Okay. So this one cannot be accepted as the price because when the question asks for a price, you have to give a price. RM100 ka, RM1000 ka, RM50 ringgit ka. It must be a price. You cannot mention very expensive. Expensive to you might not be expensive to me, or expensive to me might not be expensive to you. So it's very general. So we cannot accept this. All right. So this one is not a very straightforward ideas. So cannot get 20. All right. On the answer, 1 point, 1 C, because I like it. So C equals to 2. And then the rest, probably 3. C2, CA 3, or organization would be 4 or 3, and then language, if there is no errors. Okay. For sample 3, how are you? I bought a new watch because I like watch. Okay, so C1. It is very nice. The watch is black color and very good. I pay RM100. C2. I bought it last week for my mother. My mother also like watch. So this one also only answered 2 things, C1 and C2. Still cannot get full mark. All right. And then sample 4. How are you? I bought a new watch because I wanted a watch. So C1, it costs RM100. C2, I think buying online is better. C3, I bought my watch online. The watch is nice and I like it. It is black and looks good. I use it every day. I think you should buy a watch too. All right. So, C3 not there. Okay. Because C3 is the student's supposed to be suggests whether the friend should buy online or should buy at a shop. So still not answering the question. Okay, but this actually, some students, they will write like this. Okay, they think that adding more information for email, I'm talking about email here, not part 2 and part 3. This is unnecessary actually. You just go straight to the point. All right, how you should answer it this way. Hi Ben, I recently bought a new watch because I needed one for school and daily activities. So C1. It helps me manage my time better. I paid 100 for it. C2. I think it was worth the money. In my opinion, buying a watch online is better. C3. Because it is more convenient and there are many choices available. C4. Besides, I can compare prices easily before buying. I hope you will find a suitable watch soon. This is 20 out of 20 email. Okay. First, we look at the format. Okay, the format is here. All the format for all the necessary criteria for an email is here. Okay, and then answering all the given tasks. Right, there is no errors whatsoever. Okay, and then very straightforward. Okay, everything here mentioned here is about buying a new watch. Okay, so this is how you should answer it. All right, and then cohesive devices, in my opinion, because besides it's enough for a 5 for O. Okay, cohesive devices, it falls under organization. All right, language is your sentences, your grammar. Okay, it will fall under language. Right, so this is how you should answer email. Or this way. Hi Ben, it's great to hear from you. I recently bought a new watch because it's nearing exam season, so C1. Therefore, I could manage my time wisely during the exam. Okay, I bought it at an affordable price, that is RM40. C2. Personally, I think it's better to buy a watch online shop because it provides various discounts. Okay, so C3, C4. I hope I was of some help. So this one is shorter than the first one just now, kan? But this one also 20 out of 20. Okay. There are some students who write very long essay for part 1. Sometimes it was until 3 paragraphs. Still they can get 20 if they answer all the given tasks. Because sometimes students, they tend to explain or they tend to give very long elaboration for part 1, email. Actually, for email, 80 words is enough, okay? You don't have to really think much when you write email, okay? 80 words is enough. As long as you answer the given tasks, you use cohesive devices, the format is correct, then you will be fine, okay? It's just that don't make any errors, especially for your grammar, all right? So for part 1, this is are the reminders, okay? Because part 1 actually is very easy, especially for the weak students lah. You know, we have high proficiency level. We have I would categorize it as average, and then we have the low one, and then we have the galus one. Okay, so we have 4 actually. So for everyone, you should score at least. If you are a very good student, 20 marks should not be any problem. If you are the average one, 18, 19 should not be any problem. If you are the third category, low proficiency level, you should score 15, 16. If you are the galus one, should not be any problem for you to score 12, 13 and above. All right. You have to first, you read the question carefully. Okay, identify and answer all the given tasks. If you are supposed to choose between 2 options, choose one. Okay, and then when you choose one, don't make any spelling errors. All right. For example, you are supposed to choose between sports shoes and casual shoes. If you misspell the word one, it will affect your marks also, right? Because it's in the question, kan? So why did you make mistakes? Okay, give reasons and explanation for your answers. This one depends on the question. If the question did not ask for any reasons or explanation, then it's okay if you don't write reasons and explanation. Depends on the question actually. Okay, because I saw this one video, the teacher said, if you don't have reasons for your answer, you cannot get C point, content point, which is not true actually. Okay, depends on the question. If the question asks you, why do you buy a watch? Doesn't mention, give reasons, right? Even if you only give one reason, you still answer the question. Okay, because this is part one. Part one is the easiest one actually. Use the correct email format. Okay, write straightforward ideas. Don't beat around the bush. Okay, meaning you don't have to go and mention, for example, buying a watch. You don't have to go. The brand is this particular brand. It is black in color. That one is not necessary. All right. Write in a friendly and suitable tone. Use cohesive devices. Avoid repeating the same words. Suitable vocabulary and expressions. And then this one, the last one, this is the one that students always skip, which is check the grammar, the spelling, and the sentence structure. Right? Because when I know whether they didn't realize that they actually make mistakes. Because teachers, that's why we are called the grammar Nazi, right? The moment we see something, some errors, right? We know that the students either they don't check or they don't realize that they are actually making mistakes. But I'm not sure about other English teachers, but if I see something, some grammar errors, of course, I will point it out. Okay. Now we move on to part 2. Okay. So what happens when an examiner reads your essay? For part 2, part 2, your introduction. Okay. The moment when we read when the examiners read your introduction, right? Then it will give us a glimpse. It will give the examiners a glimpse of what your essay is about and your writing ability actually. And it's just a glimpse, all right? So it will give us a very rough idea of what you are going to write. So the most important thing is your introduction, okay? Which is some students, they always, they don't see this as very important. But for me, introduction is very important actually, because it's like your first impression. Like when you meet someone new, your first impression is very important. Same like your essay. Your introduction is very important. Okay. For example, this question, house chore is very popular this year. Okay, probably it will be out in SPM because it's this one is in the syllabus kan. I think this one is chapter 2 if not mistaken for 5 textbook. House chore. Okay, so this is the question. All right, your teacher has asked you to write an essay. You talk about house chore that you like to do at home. Say what makes you want to do it. Explain how helping at home can make a family happier. You see here, say what makes you want to do it. Doesn't mention that you need to give 1 reason, 2 reasons, 3 reasons. Just that say here, what makes you want to do it. So if you only write 1, still accepted as C2. Okay, explain how helping us at home can make a family happier. If you only explain 1 way, still you answer C3 because it doesn't mention here how many you should write, right? So this is the question. So for your examiner, they know that you have to write about house chore. So how do you attract the examiner's attention? Using your introduction. Okay, so this is a sample. Okay, this one, it was sent to me, someone DM this to my TikTok. Okay, so the person asked me to check whether it's a good introduction or not. So when I first read it, I know there's something wrong somewhere. Okay, nowadays many parents work from morning until evening. Okay, and then after they return to the home, them was tired and want to rest, but them have responsibility to cook for family and make sure house is in good condition. In this essay, I will share my chore to make house clean. First, grammar errors. I will not look at the grammar errors. I just want to look at the idea, an overall idea of the introduction. So when I first read this, it's not coherent. I like to use the word coherent, meaning the idea from sentence to sentence, it's related. This one, it's not related. Okay, first the person mentioned about parents. Parents are very busy. Okay? And then the parents are tired, they want to rest, but they have to cook for the family. And then the last sentence, I will share my chore to make the house clean. So the idea is not whether the students are going to write about the parents or about the student himself or herself. Okay, so this is what the examiners will think. What is the main idea actually? Is it about the parents? Is it about the house? Yes. Is any question? Any
Hello.
question?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Cikgu.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's two questions that like caught my attention. Okay, so one of the viewers asked, "Teacher, may I ask how do we know which discourse markers is suitable when writing an essay? I am always confused about it since my teacher pointed it out." Okay, and then the second one would be, "Teacher, why do you use them but not they?" Thank you.
Okay. Discourse markers. Discourse markers actually for part 1 and part 2. Discourse markers is, I would not say that you should not use discourse markers for part 1 and part 2, but for part 3, yes, especially for story. Okay, because for story, you cannot use cohesive devices like the one that you use in article or review, right? So discourse markers suitable for story, right? Because you cannot say, firstly for story, right? You cannot use firstly. It will make the story sounds very childish, right? So for discourse markers, story part 3, yes. Okay. The reason why discourse markers is not that we cannot use discourse markers, but for SPM level, cohesive devices is enough, right? Except for story. If we are supposed to use discourse markers, then it will be mentioned in the marking criteria, but it's not mentioned. It's focusing more on cohesive devices. Okay. If a teacher asks you to use discourse markers, probably for story, okay, it's not suitable, not suitable, but not necessary to use discourse markers. Cohesive devices is enough. Okay. And then the second question, why do I use them? Okay, so this is a sample answer from a student. Okay, so I did not change anything. The way the student sent me the answer, this is how I type it out. Okay, so there are a lot of errors. It's not intentionally. Okay, it's not because I purposely write after them written. No, this is how the students wrote the answer. Okay, so that's why you see them. I know it's wrong, but I just want to show you the authenticity of the answer, original answer lah from the student, not my answer. Okay, I don't want to I don't want to correct anything. All right, so but good for you because you notice that. You notice there are some errors. Okay, so this one, the introduction part. Okay, this is why it's not a good introduction. Okay, first the student mentioned about the topic of parents. So in my idea, okay, from what I see here, the student will write about parents. Okay, the second sentence is also still focusing on the parents. But then the last sentence, the student mentioned, I will share my chore to make house clean. So what is the connection between the third sentence, the last sentence, with the sentence 1 and sentence 2? It's not coherent. The coherency is not there. Even the question asks about what house chore do you like to do? So why do you put parents here? So this is not a very good introduction. Okay, so from this introduction, then I know probably the essay will not be very very coherent. One thing, it will not be very clear, meaning the ideas probably will go round and round. Okay, so based on the introduction, this is not a very good introduction. Okay, so based on this, okay, the introduction contains relevant ideas, but the ideas do not flow naturally. Okay, it doesn't really help the examiners to really understand what is the main idea of the whole essay. Okay, so for introduction, the golden rule is every sentence in the introduction must bring the examiner closer to your answer, one by one. Okay, it must be relevant, it must be related, one from sentence 1 to the last one. It must be one cohesive, one coherent idea. Okay, and then you have to remember, examiners, they don't look at your sentences individually. They will look at as a journey of your ideas, the entire thing. That's why we have complexity of ideas. Whether your ideas is complex whether your ideas really convey what you want to say. If your ideas is not very strong, then you will not get very high marks for your CA. Okay, so it all started with your introduction. All right. Sample 2, this is the question. This is SPM 2024. Okay, music and its influence on teenagers. So here we know that the essay must be about music. Okay, say what you like, say why you like that type of music. Explain how important music is in your life. Okay, this one is a very tricky question actually. Yeah? If you look at this one, music, all right? Music means it's a genre. Okay, the moment the student write the title of the song, then it will not answer the question actually. Okay, for example, the student mentioned the music that I like is Bruno Mars lah. What the song lah? BTS lah. Okay, for example, the student mentioned the music that I like is Dynamite by BTS, which is not answering the question actually, because it asks for a music, not the name of the song, right? So it's not answering the question. Okay, but then we look at the introduction, right? Music has become popular for centuries. There are various types of music that everyone can choose. Music gives a huge impact to everyone, either teenagers or adults. So from the first reading, it looks like this is a very good introduction, right? But actually, no. Okay, no. Why? Because of this. Okay, music has become popular for centuries. This is slightly inaccurate because it means that before this, music is not popular, because music is not something that's supposed to be popular, right? It is something very common among us. If the student mentioned about songs, for example, rock songs or ballad songs has become popular for centuries, then it might be accurate. But to say music has become popular for centuries, slightly inaccurate actually. Yeah, so not a very good first sentence. There are various types of music that everyone can choose. So to make it even better, probably the student can write examples. Okay, at least 3 examples. What are the various types of music that everyone can choose? Okay, and then the last sentence, music gives a huge impact to everyone. This is very general also, because what kind of impact? Is it good impact? Is it bad impact? All right. And then one thing I want to emphasize also, the use of the word music. In every sentence, the student mentioned music. Okay, music here, music there, and then the last sentence also, the student wrote music. So actually, you can replace the word music with something else. Okay? If you cannot find other suitable words, you can just put here it. There are various types of music there. Okay, it gives a huge impact. Then it will be better actually. If you keep on using the same word, this is what I mean with repeated words. It will affect your overall essay. Okay, so less common axis is very important. If you cannot find any less common axis to replace the word music here, then you just replace it using it. Okay? So this is also not a very good introduction. All right. So how to write an introduction that guides the examiner? Okay, so I categorize it into 4, right? For the high proficiency group, this is the A- group, the A- student, A solid, A+ student. You can use this way. First, you give a very general statement, then you narrow it down, then you give your thesis statement, which is your main idea. This is the one that I always mention to schools, students, if I go to their schools. This year, I have been to 5 schools. Yeah, the first one is MRSM Kuching, and then I went to SMK Belaga, yeah, and then SMK Lobantu, SMK Seri Setia, SMK Asajaya. So 5 schools for this year. So every time I go to this school, right, I will mention this. Okay, but this is for high proficiency group actually, yeah. Because after I've been in my new school, I think that this is not suitable for all students actually. For the good one, yes. Okay. So if you want to use the first technique, this is it. For introduction, first you give a very general statement. Okay, house chores are very important. Then specific, you give some examples, and then the thesis statement. Okay, so this is it. It's very packed. Okay, so the examiners, when they read this, they know that, okay, where are you going with your essay? Okay, this is for high proficiency group. Another example is this one. Okay, so you know that this is what the students are going to write. So the students, they know what the main idea, they know what they're going to do. So it's a very clear introduction. For part 2, okay, this is not for part 3, yeah. For this introduction lah, but for the technique you can use it for part 3. But for the content in this introduction, this is suitable for part 2. Okay. And then for the music question is like this. Okay? This is a very, very interesting introduction. Okay. If you look at the thesis statement, right? As a powerful art form, music has shaped countless generations. This one, it's not straightforward, but it's reading between the lines, right? So from this, we know that the student will write something that they love, okay, because of the word resonates with their soul. So this is what we call as LCL. So this is a very good introduction, actually. So from this one, from this introduction part only, we know that the students will write something so outstanding because of the introduction. Okay. And then this one, this is also a very general one, but it answered the question. It answered the question. It gives you a very proper introduction. All right. So the second technique, this is for, I would say, the second group. Okay, you use FET technique, fact, examples, thesis. Okay, this is a very general one for average students, all right, those who cannot write and those who have difficulties to write very outstanding essays, meaning you are the average one, either you are the B plus, or A minus student, right? You can write your introduction this way. Okay, house chores are important jobs that we do at home. All right, 3 sentences only. For introduction, you don't have to write very long introduction, actually. 3 sentences is enough, like this one. Okay, it's very, very simple, but it answered the task. Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
excuse me, teacher. Cikgu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The question would be, teacher, is it necessary to separate them? Teacher, I have a question. Can using strong vocabulary influence the marks? Will it help increase the score? And one more would be, teacher, for thesis statement, if it's general question like it doesn't your or you, can I still write in this essay? I will talk about, or should we write the writer?
The second question, can you repeat? What is the second question?
Okay, the second question, teacher, for thesis statement, if it general question like it doesn't mention your or you, can I still write in this essay, I will talk about, or should we write the writer?
For the first question just now, outstanding words, is it? Outstanding word is what we call as LCL, less common lexis. Okay. The proper word is less common lexis, because if I go to schools, right, when I ask them, do you know LCL, less common lexis, the student will tell me they don't know. The teacher never mentioned LCL. Actually, LCL is what the students like to say, the bombastic words. All right, the very strong word, outstanding words, just like the question just now. Does it affect your marks? Yes. Okay, especially for part 3. All right, for part 3, this is for language. If you don't use LCL in your part 3, okay, for example, the words that you use in your essay is the common words, meaning you don't use LCL, any other words to replace the common words in your essay, right? No matter how good your essay is, no matter how perfect your grammar is, your language marks will only can go up to 3 marks, all right, if you don't use LCL. So it's very, very important to use LCL. For part 2, if you use LCL, if you only use 1 or 2 in the entire essay, but then your grammar is good, your vocab is, your spelling is accurate, there's no errors whatsoever, you can get 4 or 5. All right. For part 3, yes, you must use LCL. It will affect your marks. All right. If you don't use LCL, the highest you will get is 3 marks, no matter how good your vocab is. Because for part 3, it is marked under C1 and C2, B2, C1. Okay, so in terms of the ideas, the language, the words that you use, it must be very complex. So yes, you need to use that. For the second question, if the question doesn't mention whether it's you or your, I don't think this will happen, because all of the question for SPM standard, it will ask you as the writer, right? So I don't think they will give you a very general question like talk about an advertisement that you know, kan? So the word you must be there. So it must be about your idea, kan? So I don't think it will happen where you don't have the word you in the question. Yeah, so far since 2021, no, it's always about you, kan? So not sure, maybe this year suddenly they decided to change the question, kan? But then good question, okay? It made me think a bit actually. Good. Okay. Okay, back to this one. So this is for the second group. Okay, very basic one, but still answering the question, right? Okay, and then you remember the first one is PEEC technique. This one is the FET technique. So I will use this with my own students after their trial the other day. I think it's better if they use this, okay, compared to PEEC technique. And then for the law proficiency group, this is considered to be quite weak. They cannot understand English. They cannot understand. They have difficulties to understand English words. All right. They can copy the questions and then they change the pronoun to create an introduction. This way, okay. For example, this one. This is the question, right? If they write like this, okay, will they get marks for introduction? It's quite difficult to say, but to me, okay, this is enough for Galu student, okay, for the weak ones. All right. Of course, you are copying the questions, right? And it will not give you marks for your CA, okay, but it will not give you extra marks for your language, because you only copy from the question. But still, you will get, for example, you are very, very weak, like extremely weak. If you write this way and then you answer the given task, you answer task 1, task 2, task 3, then you have a conclusion, at least you can get 8 out of 20. Okay, meaning you get 5 marks for your content, and then you can get 1 mark for your CA, 1 mark for your language, and then 1 mark for your organization. So 8 marks. Even though it's only 8 marks, but to me, it is better than 0. Okay, this is a very controversial choice actually. Because when I share about this, there will be teachers saying that no need to copy the questions, blah blah blah. Yes, I know. Okay, but then we want the students to be able to write something, right? So this is the last resort, in my opinion. Okay, the last option that we can help our students, right? As long as they write something. Because if they only write this one type of music, they only answer the given task without the introduction, without the conclusion, it will affect the other marks, right? At least to get 1 mark for CA, O and L, meaning 3 marks for that particular marking criteria, for a very weak student, I think that's quite, it's quite good actually, right? So for the Galus one I don't like calling them the Galus actually. I will call them student macam biasa, right? So for those who have difficulties to write English, then you can ask them to write this way. Okay, Very controversial, I know, but we try whatever we can to help our students, right? Or this one, talk about a chore. But then you have for teachers, like if teachers are watching this, train them to change the pronoun. Okay. For example, this one can in the question say your class, this one your teacher. So you train them to change the pronoun with the condition there is no errors whatsoever. Kan, if they copy everything from the question, do not make any errors. Okay. Tiba-tiba hilang helping lah, hilang at, that one cannot. Okay. You have to tell them copy exactly like in the question. You just change the pronoun, right? Then it will help the students in some ways to get marks, because this is how I train my students in my new school. It helped actually. Okay. It does help them, right? So if you are, for teachers lah, if you still trying to help your students as much as you want, you can try this way, right? For me, as long as we try something, as long as the effort is there, then the rest we leave it to God lah, whether they can score high marks or not. Okay. All right. For the body is the content. Okay. For example, this question just now, the PEAC technique. This one I always ask my students to write this one. PEAC technique is only suitable for article. Okay. For story, you can use PEAC. Kan? For report, also no, not suitable. For article, yes. Okay. This is for the high proficiency level. Okay. I'm not going to go deep into this. So first you go to your point. You explain your point, you give examples to your point, and then you give the concluding sentence. All right. So this is the one that I have been preaching every time I go to schools. I ask the student to use PEAC. This one is for the high proficiency level student. All right. Because it's not easy to write PEAC actually. You have to have your content knowledge, and then you have to have a very good vocab for you to write PEAC technique. All right. But if you can, then it will be very, very helpful for you. Okay, for example, this one. Here, where you can use quasi-divisors actually. For example, right, for your point, you can start using firstly. Firstly, among the various household chores, so you manage to use at least 3 quasi-divisors. You can use here, you can use here, you can use here. Like this one, there are 3 here. Besides that, for example, as a result. So in terms of the quasi-divisors, you already use enough quasi-divisors for one essay. For high proficiency group, PEAC technique. Okay, if you want to know more, you can go and Google what is PEAC technique. This is for the good student, the high proficiency level. Okay, or music just now. Right, so you have the point. This is from the question. Because if you use PEAC, right, PEAC technique, your first point, your first sentence in your paragraph already answered the given task. Okay, so it's very structured. That's one thing about essay. It must be very structured, because if it's not structured, right, for example, your point, what type of music do you enjoy listening to? Suddenly your point, you put it here. The last sentence. So it's not very, in terms of the structure, it's a very, very bad structure. It will affect your CA. Okay. So it's better if you, first you mention the point, and then you explain the point, you give examples to the point, and then you conclude the paragraph. Okay. It's very, very structured. That one is very, very good answer. If you can make it very structured. Ada struktur lah maksudnya. Okay. And then for the second technique, we can use this. This is called idea technique. Okay, this one is less detailed compared to PEAC technique. First, you mention the idea. This is the point. And then you explain your point. Only one sentence. And then you give examples. Also only one sentence. And then the additional sentence depends on the question actually. Either you can, the last sentence, either you can mention your feelings, either you can mention your hopes, or you can mention the concluding sentence. All right. So this one for the second group, okay, I will call it the average group. All right, this one is easier actually for students to write their ideas. Okay, like this one, compared to PEC technique just now. Even though it's simpler than the first one, but still it's answering the question. However, in terms of your marks for your CA and your language, probably will not get to 5 marks because the idea is very simple. But then again, this is for average proficiency group, meaning this is not for the A plus student, for the A solid, the A minus. Okay, if your English is very good, then you use PEC technique. But if you think your English is average, okay, you can use this way. All right. So first you mention the point, and then you explain just one sentence, and then you give examples, one sentence only, and then your additional sentence. I feel happy because I can reduce my parents' work. This way. Okay. So this is for average students. You might not get high marks if you write this way, but still you will get marks, right? Daripada you write something but there's no structure, you just put everything that you can think of at that time, it will be very messy. Okay, and then it will be redundant also, meaning you will repeat the same thing. Okay, but if you have a certain technique, certain structure, then it will be better. All right. Another example is this one for the question, the music just now. I like pop music. So you can add here, firstly, first of all, I like pop music. I like this type. So one sentence, so it's sentences only. Okay, for the second technique. All right. And then for the third technique, this is for the low proficiency student. Okay, we use the ARE technique, R technique. All right. First, you answer the question, right? And then you give your reason, and then you give examples, meaning you only have 3 sentences. This is for the low proficiency student. Okay, I think I think students, especially for regular day school SPM candidates, right? You will have this group. Okay, especially if there are too many SPM candidates, right? You will have students who cannot write very long sentences, right? So you can train them to write this way. Okay, first you answer the task, you give reason, you give examples, enough. Okay, even though you will not get high marks for this one, but at least you get content point, and then you can get CA. If you use quality devices, you will get marks for that. And if you don't make any errors, or your errors is very minimal for your language, you also will get marks, right? Still better than 0, right? So jangan fikir like maka you get high marks ka, low marks ka, depends on your ability, right? If you cannot write very long sentences, then you can try this one, right? So I like pop music. Of course, you use quality devices lah to start your answer. Firstly, I like pop music. I like it because for the low proficiency group, okay, especially for teachers. If there are teachers who are watching this right now, you can train your student to write this way, okay, especially for the low proficiency group, okay. Another example is this one. I like to wash the dishes at home. I like this chore because it helps, it's easy and helps my family. Very simple sentences, but it will give you marks, right? Still better than 0, kan? So we aim for marks actually. Berapa markah tu depends lah, whether you make errors kah, you don't make errors, you manage to answer the given question, you manage to give the correct examples, then you will get marks, right? And the last one, the last technique, okay, this is the last resort. This is the last option that we have. If our students are very, very weak, okay, we can train them to answer this way, okay. First, you have the introduction just now, kan, when you copy from the question. And then the second paragraph, you answer everything in one paragraph. There are 3 tasks, right? So each sentence answering each task, each questions, all right? So you have 3 sentences in one paragraph in your second paragraph where you answer everything, right? For example, this one, C1, C2, C3. You have the introduction just now where you copy from the question, and then your second paragraph, you answer all the given tasks in one paragraph. All right, C1, C2, C3. Okay, this way. So this one, even though you only write 3 paragraphs, the first paragraph you copy from the question, just like I mentioned just now. If you answer the task like this, even though it's only one paragraph, you still can get 5 marks for your content. Content point will not be affected by other things. Okay, it will not be affected by your CA. It will not be affected by your language. It will not be affected by your organization. C content point, it stands on itself. All right. So even though you only answer 1 paragraph, in that one paragraph, you answer everything. Okay, you answer all the given tasks, but in 1 paragraph only, you still get 5 marks for your content. Okay, but for the other marking criteria, you will get less marks. Okay, that is why the number one most important thing you have to remember when you write your SPM writing paper, to answer all the given tasks. Okay, if you don't have enough time to write, for example, usually students either they don't finish part 2 or part 3. Okay, either both. Okay, if you don't have enough time to answer in a proper, 4 paragraph, 3 paragraph essay, you write in 1 paragraph, but make sure you answer everything. Okay, then you will get 5 marks for your content point. But the rest, the highest you will get is like 1 or 2 marks, depends on your language. All right. So this one is for the number, the last group lah, I would say galus. Okay, antara gagal and lulus, right? Or this one. The question just now, what chore do you like to do? Why do you like to do it? And does doing chore makes the family happy or something like that? Okay, so you have to answer everything this way. So you get 5 marks for your content point. 1 mark for your CA, 1 mark for your O, 1 mark for your language. So 8 marks. For a very weak student, 8 marks is more than enough actually. Okay, for example, part 1 you get 12, part 2 you get 8, part 3 probably 4 or 5. 4 or 5. I think you still can pass the exam, right? Because our aim now is to pass SPM paper. Kan? The conclusion also, there are 10 more minutes. The conclusion also, there are technique also. Okay, so overall, this is the technique. We have RRR, RBH, RH, and R. Same thing like the body one. Okay, depends on your level. If you are the high proficiency, you use RRR, restate, reflect, recommendation. If you are the average one, restate, benefit, hope. If you are the low proficiency, you use restate and then hope. And then if you're extremely weak, you just restate. Okay, for example, this way. This is the high proficiency group. First, you restate your main point. Where do you get your main point? From your last sentence in your introduction, your thesis statement. So for your conclusion, you mention it again, you write it again. Okay, in conclusion, ini mesti ni in conclusion ni. In conclusion, for your last paragraph, you must write cohesive devices that shows this is your last paragraph. So we use in conclusion. Finally, lastly, my favorite so far is in toto. In toto is something I learned from SPM candidates. Okay, in toto, the same meaning is in summary, to summarize. Okay, and then you reflect, and then you give recommendation. This is for RRR, the high proficiency group. This is for conclusion. For the second technique, RBH, this is for the average group. Okay, first you restate, you give the benefit, and then you give your hope. Okay, so it's very structured. Meaning your essay kan, if you simply write whatever you want to write, it will not be very structured. It will affect your marks. Okay, because examiners, they will go and look, ada tak dia punya coherency, the kesinambungan from one idea to another one. Okay, and then the third one is the RH. You restate and then you give hope. This one pun kira dah okay. In conclusion, helping at home is important. For your conclusion, it doesn't have to be long actually. As long as you have your conclusion. And then your conclusion must be related to the entire idea lah. Jangan awak tulis yang tidak berkaitan, right? Okay. And then for the weak one, just you restate. In conclusion, helping at home can make my family happier. As long as you have the conclusion, because if you don't have conclusion, right, it will affect your O marks. Okay, or paragraphing falls under O, organization. Okay, so you must have your conclusion also. All right. For part 3, I have 10 more minutes. For part 3, I will only mention about the common errors. Okay, the things that candidates always commit in their essay. Okay, first we look at in overall lah, secara generalnya. Okay, first you don't answer all the given tasks. The cardinal sin, the wrong format. Okay, we have 4 format, right? Article, review, report, story. Weak introduction, no paragraphing, meaning it's one long essay. Repeating the same words, no cohesive no explanation, grammar mistake, spelling mistake, no conclusion. Same thing. Okay, very, very general errors. But the biggest mistake for part 3, first, you don't answer the tasks. You use the wrong format, especially for report. Students who write report, they will make it like a story, which is a very, very wrong thing to do. All right. If you write report, it must sound like a report. Okay, don't make it like a story. All right. Poor development, especially for story. Your story is very cliche. It's very monotonous. There's no whatsoever interesting things happen in your story. It will affect your marks. Okay, no cohesive grammar, and spelling mistakes. Okay. For story, this one. Story, I don't really recommend students to write story. If you want to write story, make sure you are very creative. Okay, no clear storyline, wrong tense. Story you have to use past tense because it already happened. So if you don't use past tense, it will affect your language marks. No development of ideas. For example, the first paragraph, the situation is different. Then the second paragraph, another situation. So it's not related, not coherent, no development of ideas. No feelings, no descriptions, a very weak ending. Suddenly, there's so many examples actually, but then because not enough time, so I cannot share. For story, this is what you should remember. Story, S-T-O-R-Y. S is for the setting. Who, where, when, you use 5W1H question. T is the trouble. Of course, in the story, no matter what year the question is, it will ask you to write about a conflict. Like last year, the conflict is between the fight between 2 girls. Honey, yes, the character name is Honey. So the problem Honey has with her friend, the trouble. So story, it must be about trouble. Mesti pasal masalah. So you have to mention the story, the trouble. O is for the outcome. How do you resolve the issue? R is for reflection. What did you learn? Definitely, it must be about this. For story, the task that you need to do, it's always the same thing, right? Your feelings. Okay, so you remember story, you remember this. This is what you should write. All right. Next one, review. Review, you don't follow the format. No personal opinion, meaning your recommendation. No reasons or examples. No recommendation, limited vocabulary. Review, your vocabulary must be outstanding because you want people to try whatever you are reviewing, right? If your vocab is so only, so of course people will not be interested to try whatever you are reviewing, right? So for review, remember this. If it's review, you remember the format, you explain your opinion, you use a variety of vocab, you include all tasks, examples, and last one, the W. Would you recommend it? So you must write down the word in your last paragraph, right? I would recommend this. I highly recommend this. The word recommend must be in your review. If you don't have the word recommend, then it's not answering the task. Okay? And then make sure your spelling is correct. RECOMMAD. Okay? If you write the wrong spelling, it will affect your language marks also. Report. Report to me is the easiest one to score actually. People, they don't believe me, but trust me, report is the easiest one to score because the task is not very difficult. It's just that you need to use formal language. Okay, you cannot write it like a story. Then it will not be a report. It will be a story, which will affect your CA marks, definitely. Okay, so wrong format, too informal. Okay, no clear organization, missing suggestion, writing opinions instead of finding. So for report, you have to remember this. R, you have to remember the format. E, you explain the purpose, present findings clearly, offer suggestion. They will ask you to report, for example, an issue happening at one event. What is the ways to overcome the problem? So you offer suggestion lah. Remain formal and tied up with a conclusion. The conclusion for your report, okay? Hopefully it will not happen again, something like that. Depends on the question. And then last one, the article. No clear article style. For article, right, part 1 and part 2 and part 3, remember to have the title. If you don't have the title, meaning the format is not complete. Okay, ideas not developed, no reader engagement. How do you engage your reader to read your essay, your vocab? Okay, if your vocab is very common, then it's not engaging people to read your essay. Okay, so for article, remember this. A, attractive title. So you must have a title on top of your answer. Okay, and then you remember your readers. Usually readers for part 2 usually is for school level. So your audience or your readers are your friends. For part 3, they will make it, for example, you have to write for a health magazine, sports magazine. So your readers probably adults. Okay, so it depends on the question. Talk about the topic clearly, include your opinions, connect ideas, link with examples, and end with a strong message for article. You remember ARTICLE, you remember this, then it will help you a lot. For SPM, the one question that will be out every year is story. Okay, the rest, it will be alternate based according to year. This year, I don't want to predict anymore because last year I predict review. Review was not out, so probably, I don't know. So you just learn everything. Okay. So what should you do before SPM? What should you do now? First, you should master the technique. You choose which one is suitable with you. Okay, depends on your level. And then you read a lot so that you have content knowledge to help you write your essay. Expand your vocab. Learn a lot of less common lexis. Okay. Improve your writing, especially write within the time limit. Okay, you only have 1 hour, 30 minutes to write 3 essays. So you have to train to write 3 very, very good essays in the given time. Okay, 90 minutes. All right. And then you review and correct your work. All right. So you can ask your teachers. If you want me to check, you can always DM me. Okay. If you know my TikTok, it's teacher RS. You just type lah teacher RS. You will see me. Okay. If you want, because usually I will receive a lot of DMs from teachers, from students asking me to check the essay. I will. There's no problem with me doing that. Okay. Don't memorize essays. It will backfire. Master the technique. Prepare your ideas and write with confidence. Okay. But don't be overconfident. If you be overconfident, your essay will be a lot of errors here and there. Okay. So yeah, 1 more minute. So I guess that's it. The last slide. Okay. So I thank you for joining me tonight, and I will see you again on 17th of August, my second webinar. Okay. So back to the moderator.
Thank you, Cikgu Nancy. Do you mind if we have a few more questions before we end tonight's session?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
what I have here is that, hold on now, let me take a look. Teacher, during the speaking test part 3, if we are unable to elaborate on our ideas and just go straight on to the second point, will we get the same marks? And the second question, followed by this question, teacher, is dialogue encouraged to be included in the story? First 2 questions first.
The first question, what is the first question?
Okay, the first question was asking, during the speaking test part 3, I think this is a bit out of the topic because we're talking about writing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if we are unable to elaborate on our ideas and just go straight on to the second point, will we get the same marks?
Okay, for speaking, right, for part 3, this is the misconception among candidates. Actually, there is no rule saying that you need to elaborate or you need to choose 3 points each. There are 6 points, right, for part 3. So there is no mention of candidate A should answer 3, candidate B should answer 3. No. Even if you only answer 1 and then you manage to elaborate it wonderfully, meaning you manage to give examples, you manage to give elaboration, it's enough. Okay, you don't have to force yourself to choose 3 when you can't even, elaborate on all 3 points. Okay, it will backfire. Okay, so what you can do is during the preparation time, you have 20 seconds preparing before you start your part 3. You choose which one you are most confident to talk about. Okay, I have one student in my school now. She only choose one. Okay, during the part 3 one, only choose 1 point, but she managed to elaborate so well that she actually got a full mark, 24 out of 24. Okay, even though only 1 point. So it doesn't necessarily you have to answer all 3 points. If you cannot elaborate, it will backfire. Like it will cost you marks, right? So you choose the one that you can explain, elaborate, give examples. Then you choose that one. Okay. The second question is now dialogue in story, right? Yes, you can write dialogue, but do not let the dialogue overshadow everything. Meaning you can have dialogues, but don't write too many dialogues that the essay now has become a drama. Okay, there's dialogue. Character A said this, character B said this, and then the one entire thing is about dialogue. Cannot. If you want to write dialogue, right, make sure you write in an appropriate number of dialogues. It cannot, make everything about the story about dialogue only. Okay. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Cikgu. Probably we have last 2 questions due to time constraint. Okay. Good evening, teacher. If the question asking about the type of music that we like, we should focus to one type of music only, or we can talk about many types of music and their special feature in essay. And the last question for tonight will be, let me check this one. What is the minimum number of cohesive devices for part 2 and part 3 to get 5 marks? Thank you, Cikgu.
The first question just now, what is it? What is it? The first question?
Okay.
Oh yeah, music.
Yes. Okay.
This is okay, for part 2, right? If, for example, the question just now, one type of music that you like to listen to. Okay, if you write more than one type of music, okay, the examiners, they will mark everything. Okay, and then whether, for example, right, you write about rock, and then you give the reason, you answer all the given tasks, and then you give a second type of music. You mentioned about K-pop, okay, but for your second point, your second music, the one that you choose, you did not answer probably one of the tasks. Then they will go to the first one that you answer. They will take that as your main idea. So still you can get marks for that, but then probably it will affect your CA because it's not straightforward ideas. But in terms of your content point, yes, you will get the 5 marks. Okay. The second question is now, how many cohesive devices? Actually, there's no exact number of words of how many should you use. But for my students, okay, and then every time I go to schools, I will remind the students to use 3 in every paragraph. So let's say you have 5 paragraphs, right? If 3 cohesive devices, then you will have 15. Okay. Just that one thing, when you want to use cohesive devices, make sure it is the correct one. Don't simply put any cohesive devices that you know, and then you cannot repeat the same thing. Especially the word so. If you, for example, the first paragraph, you have so, And then the second one, you also have so. There's so many so here and there. It will affect your CD lah, your O marks. Okay, that's why memorize 15. Hafal 15. 15 that you can memorize the spelling correctly, how to use it correctly. 15. Okay, the one that you can use in all of your essays, part 1 until part 3, and also your speaking test. Because speaking test also you need to have quasi devices. All right, for the week one, firstly, secondly, besides that, apart from that, furthermore is very dangerous actually, because you always misspell the word, you always miss the R. Besides that also, sometimes students they put there beside that, which is wrong. If the quasi devices is wrongly spelled, it will not be accepted. Okay, so either you use the correct one, the correct way to use it, and then it's not repeated, then it will be counted. Okay, if you repeat the same thing, wrong spelling, wrong way to use it, it will not be accepted. Okay, so I hope that answered the question.
Thank you so much, Cikgu Nancy, for such insightful sharing. I believe we received a lot of excellent questions tonight. And for those questions that we couldn't answer tonight, please do find Cikgu Nancy on TikTok, as she mentioned before. And for those who are asking for the slide, you can always review this live again on YouTube. Okay, you can watch it again for your revision. All right. So due to time constraint, we are sorry and we apologize that we are not able to address every question. However, we sincerely thank everyone who participated actively throughout the webinar and for all the thoughtful questions you have shared. We hope tonight's discussion has been helpful and beneficial to all of you. So as we come to the end of tonight's webinar, I would like to express our sincere appreciation once again to Cikgu Nancy for taking the time to share her knowledge and experience with us this evening. Thank you for an informative and engaging session. We hope today's sharing has provided valuable guidance and encouragement to all our students as they continue preparing for the SPM English examination. All right, so do continue to follow our official platforms for updates on future webinars and educational programs. To all SPM candidates, remember that success is not achieved overnight. It is built through consistent effort, perseverance, and a willingness to keep learning. We wish each and every one of you all the very best in your preparation and every success in your SPM examination. Do join us for the next live webinars with Cikgu Nancy as well for the next session. Thank you once again for joining us. Stay safe, have a pleasant evening, and good night. Thank you, Cikgu Nancy.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.